Good evening and thanks for joining us on the eve of history. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo is one day away from becoming the 7th president of the Republic of Ghana. The final countdown to the inauguration of President-elect begins now. It is truly the end of an era in Ghanaian politics as the final bells toll on the 6th Parliament. This is an election headquarters special. My name is Gifty Ando Apia and welcome to our live coverage of the dissolution of the 6th Parliament and the swearing in of the new set of lawmakers. I'll be doing this, of course, alongside my colleagues Elton Brobe and Joseph Opoku Gakpo, who will be stationed at Parliament House in Accra. My guest in the studio, meanwhile, is Victor Adawudu and Kojoga Adawudu. He's a legal practitioner who's also a part of the NDC's legal team. While we know that the 7th Parliament will be remarkably different, of course, from its predecessors, the balance of power swung sharply from the National Democratic Congress to the New Patriotic Party following the December 7 polls. NPP controls a whopping 160 out of the 275 seats in Parliament. We will be looking at who is in and who is out during this special coverage and examining expectations of the newly constituted House. But first, let me go to my guest, Victor Adawudu. Before I get to Victor Adawudu, we've got to go back to Parliament quickly. Watch this.
You're welcome back to the Parliament House, and we are all awaiting the 7th Parliament to be ushered into the chamber for the ceremony to start. Remember that we have from now up till midnight for the dissolution of the 6th Parliament. So technically, the 6th Parliament is still in session until the midnight of today. Now, a minute into the new day, the 7th Parliament will be ushered into the chamber for proceedings to start. So this is going to be our programming from now till everything is over. Now let me walk you through what is going to happen once the 7th Parliament is ushered into the chamber. Some few minutes after, into the new day, the Clerk of Parliament will have a unique role to play, and he will preside over the House and he will supervise the election of the Speaker, the First Deputy Speaker, and the Second Deputy Speaker. As you may be aware, we already know who is going to be the Speaker of Parliament, Professor Michael Quay, a former Second Deputy Speaker of Parliament, a former Member of Parliament for Dom Kwabena, former Ghana's ambassador, and currently, I'm sure that after today, he will cede to become, he will cede his position as the chairperson on the Legal and Constitutional Committee of the MPP. He will assume the position of Speaker of Parliament, and that's going to happen very soon. Once that is done, he will now take the 7th Parliament, the membership, through the swearing-in ceremony. And then, as you may be aware as well, we also know the leadership for both caucuses. So how is it going to look like in the upcoming Parliament going into the next 4 years? Today, we'll take a look a bit at the 6th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, which term will come to an end before the midnight of this particular day. And then we'll look into the future as we bring in the 7th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, highly dominated by the MPP majority after the December 7th general elections. I have here Alexander Afenyo-Marken, who is a member of Parliament for a Futu in the Central Region. He has some few minutes to end his first term in Parliament, and then into the new day, he will start his second term in Parliament. He serves on the Defense and Interior Committee. He also serves on the Finance Committee of Parliament. Alex, you're welcome to the Joy News.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being with you on this program.
Right, and then Happy New Year as well.
Many happy returns.
All right. Malik Dabu is also an editor, deputy chair of the political desk of Joy, Joy News, Joy 99.7. Malik is also here with Malik. You're welcome back again. So, Alex, in sum, before we move into what is to come in the 7th Parliament, how will you describe the performance of the 6th Parliament?
Wow. Being a judge in my own court, that would be a big difficulty. But I must say that it was an opportunity to learn, and we did a lot of work. Most of the issues that we dealt with were handled on consensus. There were a few occasions that, we disagreed on partisan lines, and I'm sure those were the occasions that the media took such issues up. As a person, I can say that I've learned a lot, especially walking to the other side, listening to the seniors on the floor. A lot of experience, came by. And even at committee level, committee level is where you really engage your thought process.
And you serve on the Finance Committee, critical committee in Parliament.
Yes.
And you dealt with a lot of the issues, especially the loans and the commercial that came before that.
So now I'm adjusting that I'm no more in opposition.
Yeah.
I would have to psychologically tune myself. You can't do the same things that you were doing in opposition. Now you are supposed to be defending instead of attacking. So in defending, you have to be strategic. You have to be sure you have your facts to rebut opposition attacks and all that. So I'm sure that given this new role, we have to work hard to give true meaning to the Nanado government, so that the government is able to deliver on its promises. Because if you sit unconcerned, opposition will take you on. So I think that in spite of our overwhelming majority, we still need to work hard to make sure that the opposition does not overtake us.
We will soon look at what is to come in the 7th Parliament, but let's skew a bit on the work we did at the Finance Committee level. This morning we were told by the minority leader, the incoming majority leader, Osechi Mesabonsu, that, his issue with the outgoing Parliament is the fact that not much time was given in scrutinizing the many, commercial agreements that came before the House. You served on a committee that at most times recommended for the House to approve some of these agreements that you studied at the committee level. Is it the case that even at the committee level, not much time was given in going through the many documents that government brought before Parliament for approval that consume some of these loans between Ghana and some of these development agencies?
Naturally, there can never be enough time to do anything. So it doesn't come as a surprise that the minority leader said so. All of us sometimes have had the occasion to raise issues that we want more time to scrutinize and all that. So yes, it's a point he's raised. It's a concern shared by many. But I'm sure that leadership would agree on certain timelines. That is why in every parliament we have leadership. Leadership would have to agree, chairpersons of various committees would engage the other side, that is a ranking, and make sure that very critical bills or critical issues that come to the attention of the House, members who would want to do some further scrutiny will have the opportunity to do so. But you see, another thing that we have to note is that the fact that a bill is passed or the fact that a facility is passed, as in a loan, does not mean that you cannot do further scrutiny. And for the further scrutiny, you can always do it. If you recall, in the CDB loan agreement, when government came to cap the facility, I went further to unearth
your expectation.
Well, now we are in government, but it does not mean that we should take opposition for granted. We have to engage each other. Parliament is a collection of people with various expertise, people who have their diverse backgrounds, who are coming on board. If you look at the CVs of some of our colleagues who are coming on board.
You have 125 new MPs.
Yes.
And you came in, I mean, you'll be going to your second term.
Yes.
But for many people, at some point, we even voted the best MP.
Well, as you just said.
So going into the future, you think that we are not losing so much of the experienced hands?
The attrition rate is high. I mean, I think that point has been made this morning by the two leaders. But the point is that there should be some form of review of our various constitutions. Somebody comes to Parliament the first term. In about 2 years, he's going for primaries. And the person is supposed to be assessed. How do you assess somebody in 2 years? When you have given him a 4-year mandate. So these are things that I think would have to be looked at. And because some people are slow starters. And if you're a slow starter and you go through primaries, obviously your people may not be happy with you. And then you lose out. So these are the areas, because at least in Parliament, you need a second term.
All right.
At least. So that whatever experience that you acquire in your first term, you can build it on in your second term.
Thank you very much, Alexander Fenyomarken.
Thank you so much.
Parliament for Futu and incoming in the second term. Malik, let's try and sum up before we link back to studio and then come back later. From what he said, are you certain that they did a good job?
Second.
From what he said, are you certain that they did a good job? This outgoing Chief Parliament of the Republic of Ghana.
It's difficult to tell, because if you listen to they themselves, he was there, and you just pointed out he's a member of the Finance Committee of Parliament, and there were many times out in when Fenyomarken and the other members of the Finance Committee, Dr. Akutose, raised serious questions about not just the work of their committees, but the work of the House generally. And you heard Ose Chairman Sabunsu complain, and he was the minority leader, now he's majority leader. They have several complaints about the interference, especially of the executive, into the work of the legislature. And you just heard Alex himself talk about a certain quandary that they will find themselves in. He used to do all the attack, he used to raise all the questions, now he's going to be the one defending. Now we have a very curious constitutional arrangements where persons who are supposed to be members of the legislature and who are supposed to exercise oversight over the executive and hold them to account are seeing themselves as part of the executive. And when I was sitting in your chair, I spoke to two members of Parliament, Esla and Frida Prempe. These two ladies, all of them have ambitions to be ministers. And once they become ministers, they become members of the executive. How are they reasonably expected to hold their own executive accountable, part of which they are? So I guess that's where the difficulty is.
Okay, all right. So we are about to enter into a new phase in our parliamentary democracy. And in some few hours, the 7th Parliament will be ushered into the chamber. We are welcoming 125 new MPs. The issue about a high attrition rate, the fact that they will have to require a year or two to be abreast with their standing orders and the procedures on the floor of Parliament, is it a concern for you, especially when you have to always battle out before you can get back your seat?
No, I think it's tragic that you bring people to Parliament, take them through all the training, they learn all the rudiments of parliamentary practice, and then after 4 years, many of them are out. Take the majority, for example.
Okay.
The majority have 169 members of Parliament. 89 of them are new members.
All right.
So there are more new members than there are old members. So
Malik, I just want to hold you there. We will soon wrap up and then take viewers back to the studio and also listeners as well. But we are also joined by a very experienced, legislator. He's coming in again in the 7th Parliament, Dr. Anthony Akutose, a member of Parliament for Tafu Pankrono, a former Minister of State at the Finance Ministry. Doctor, you're welcome to Joy News.
Thank you very much.
Am I speaking to the incoming Finance Minister?
Oh, it is done by the President. I have no idea.
All right. You look good.
Thank you.
We're just talking about the fact that the 7th Parliament will be welcoming some 125 new faces. And having been in this house for 4 years now, I know how sometimes difficult it is for members to, conduct themselves on the floor. Is it a worry for you?
Yes, a big worry. I think we have to recognize that and very quickly put in some measures to bring them up very quickly. I'm glad that we have the new training institute, which might help fill the gap a bit. But it is a worry because, you see, parliamentary business is not easy. And even the sharpest people take some time to learn. I came into Parliament as an MP after I had spent 2 years as a deputy minister. So I had an opportunity to learn some things before I actually became an MP. Most people don't. And believe me, it is not easy.
How do you rate the outgoing parliament, the sixth parliament? You are on a very important committee, the finance committee. This morning, we heard the lamentation of the minority leader.
I judge our parliament based on what I've seen earlier. We had some issues with previous parliaments, like the one led by J.H. Benson, who was a minority leader. That parliament was my ideal parliament. When the senior minister got up to speak, everybody listened. And I think we need to be getting back to that. This is why you need some seasoned people to stay around to bring the rest up.
And we're also joined by
my good friend,
outgoing member of the outgoing minister for petroleum. You welcome, Mr. Emmanuel Amakufibua. We're actually talking about the higher attrition rate and how it affects the work of Parliament. Is it also an issue that you are not so excited about?
I think the leaders in their farewell speeches made mention of that. I think the attrition rates are very high. It doesn't work out well for the work of Parliament, really. I mean, I think experience counts actually in Parliament, and I've learned a lot from very seasoned people in Parliament. So clearly, it's very important.
So going into the seventh Parliament, your own expectation. I mean, on the other side, it was always baptism of fire for the majority, especially when some of these documents are put before the House. You are now going to be on the side where you have to just open fire. What should we expect from the incoming NDC minority?
A real change. Actually, I'm walking straight to my old chair.
And it's changed. Now you're on the left side of the speaker.
Mind the way I belong.
Now you're on the left side of the
That's
speaker.
That's correct. So I actually did. But I think, you know, the point has been made. Government is a continuum. Our roles have changed. We've come full circle if you think about it. You know, we were in opposition. We came to majority. We've gone back to opposition. They've been there. They've come back. I think clearly our roles have changed. Constructive criticism is very good for the country. Okay. Criticism that will, for example, ensure that by the time a particular legislation is passed, it is much improved. It's good for Ghana. I think that's what we're going to look at, and to make sure, and the term is always used loosely, keeping government on its toes. It's not really keeping government on its toes, making sure that some of the inputs are taken on board.
So what kind of opposition are we to expect from the NDC?
Tough. I think the opposition that, I mean, you can use the word tough, but the opposition that will be very constructive, that will ensure that the right things are done for Ghana, combining our own history and experiences. And so we'll be pointing that in many ways it will be helping the government in power to chart the right course, I think. And that is really the intention.
All right.
I do not believe that we want to be, we want to be an opposition that basically opposes for opposing's sake. We want to be very constructive. And we are going to be tough, really. But
Doctor, are you ready for that kind of relationship? Are you certain?
Certainly. We are used to them before when we were in the majority, and people like Haruna.
I have to be frank, he never stopped.
Haruna was always opening fire. So we expect them. Their front bench seems tough, and so I'm sure it will be an interesting parliament. As you said, I think that we want to move Ghana forward, and so the more they keep us on our toes, the better it will be for us.
Because always seated at the media center here in Parliament. I mean, always listening to you. You always point out some of the flaws, some of the reports that usually come before the House. Are we to say that we are not likely to see some of these things?
Oh, you're going to see them. Let me tell you something. He's going to answer that. But Dr. Koto, I've brought a lot of bills to his committee. And anytime you see him pointing to certain directions, you better address it. Because if you don't address it, he will not accept it here. And he will go all the way to make sure that...
But so sanctions are not going to occur under your watch.
The teacher in me always makes me question. And so I'm going to make sure the people on my side at cabinet will make sure that they do the proper thing before we come here, because I know my colleagues will be ready to question us. So
he didn't allow anything to slip by. And I hope we won't allow anything to slip by.
But you always had issues with the debt portfolio. Are we going to add on?
No, finance committee, you know, that's our job to look at the terms.
I'm talking about government. I mean, you are on the side of government.
The debt stock is a bit troubling. It's how you manage it, and so we are going to make sure we manage it in a way that will help Ghana move forward.
All right. I'm going to put your last thought so that I can allow you to go to the chamber and get settled in your new chair on the left side and you on the right side. Okay. So your expectation going into the 7th Parliament?
I think it's going to be a very interesting Parliament. The front bench is already set. Very strong relationships already exist. Good working relationship. I think it's also going to be a very productive Parliament. That's what I see.
Doctor?
I agree. You know, most of us are good friends. You may see us as questioning, but we are good friends. So I think that in that spirit, we are going to work to move Ghana forward.
All right. So that's the Member of Parliament for Elembele in the Western region, Emmanuel Amakopibua. He was also the outgoing Minister for Petroleum, and the Member of Parliament for Tapo Pankrono, Dr. Anthony Akuto say. And we don't know whether you will hold the finance minister. We'll wait and see how that pans out.
I'm a member of Parliament elect for Old Tapo.
At least that's what it is.
Okay. So, folks, we're going to take you back to the studio. When we come back, we'll be in the chamber to witness history be made. It's going to be the swearing in of the 7th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana, and also the 275 MPs who will constitute the 7th Parliament. When we come back, that's what we'll be doing from the Chamber of Parliament. So, Gifty, you can take it over from the foyer of Parliament House.
Thank you very much, Elton Broby there. And this is where I take over, and then I will be doing this, of course, with Victor Kojuga Adaudu, who is a legal counsel for the NDC. He joins me now in the studio. How are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing well, Gifty.
Okay, you excited about tonight, or
yes,
just as indifferent? Your party has lost, of course.
No, yes, we have lost. But at the end of the day, it is about Ghana.
Right.
Yes, we have deepened our constitutional democracy.
Okay.
We've seen a very smooth change of baton of leadership. So I believe that on the map of the world, it is about our constitutional democracy, the credentials. It is about it. Yes, the people didn't want continuity. They wanted change. So if the change has come, let's wait for it, see what it is, and pray that, yes, it benefits all Ghanaians.
Okay. Hopefully it will benefit all Ghanaians very soon. In just a few hours, in about less than 2 hours, we should go back to Parliament and see. Now you can see in your shots there what's happening. Is that Oko van der Poy, Dr. Oko van der Poy? I see in the shot. It's interesting to see him there in Parliament. But just so you know, we do know that the Parliament, there's going to be a whole shift in Parliament from today. The old leadership of Parliament, or the current leadership of Parliament, is made up, of course, of the Speaker of Parliament, Right Honourable Edward K. Do Ajaho, and the First Deputy Speaker, Honourable Ebo Batinodro. The Second Deputy Speaker is Honourable Joe Garte, and of course the Majority Leader, Honourable Alban S.K. Bagbin, Deputy Majority Leader, Honourable Alfred Agbesi, Minority Leader, Honourable Oseiche Mensah, so Deputy Minority Leader, Honourable Dominic Netiwo, and of course, Majority Chief Whip is Alhaji Mutaka Mubarak. First Deputy Majority Chief Whip is Honourable Ajia Mary Salifu Boforo, and the Second Deputy Majority Chief Whip is Honourable Ibrahim Ahmed. On the minority side, we know that Minority Chief Whip is Honourable Daniel Boche. The First Deputy is Minority Chief Whip is Honourable Irena Toshi Ado. The Second Deputy Minority Chief Whip is Honourable Ignatius Bafo Ewa. Tonight, that is going to change. Tonight, the The minority becomes the majority becomes the minority. And the new leadership that we're expecting, we're looking at Speaker in the person of Professor Aaron Michael Quay. I'll tell you a bit about him in a bit. First Deputy Speaker will be Mr. Joseph Osei-Wusu. Majority Chief Whip will be Kwesi Ameyao Treme. And then we've got Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, Deputy Minority Leader James Kluchaveji, Minority Chief Whip Alhaji Mubarak Mutaka, and the list goes on and on. But like I said, this is going to change. The Deputy Minority Chief Whips, we've got Comfordoyo Gansa, and we've got also Ahmed Ibrahim. We'll tell you all about them. As you can see in Parliament, they're getting ready, and the hands of power is about to change. Of course, on Saturday, we start here in Parliament. Before we do, though, there are some issues coming up about appointment and whether or not the NPP, when they come into power, can change some of the, or review some of the decisions that the sitting president has made. And that is why I bring you in, Mr. Dawudu. Now, I've got here with me a suit that you filed on the 4th of January 2017, correct? Right. Okay, and this is actually by Theophilus Odonko. Theophilus Odonko is your client?
Yeah, I know Theophilus is a lawyer, yes.
Okay, is he your client?
You're
working with him?
No.
Okay, but this also is a suit that is filed by you, of course, on the same day, the 4th of January 2017. Exactly what reliefs are you seeking? Now, I will just read the first one we have here. So you're seeking a declaration that upon a true and proper interpretation of the provision of the Constitution, particularly Articles 58(1) and 66(1), a sitting president of the Republic of Ghana during his term of office of 4 complete years, beginning from the date on which he is sworn into office as president, has the power to make any appointment required to be made by the president under the Constitution, subject only to compliance with such procedures as may be prescribed by the Constitution. We are basically saying that whatever the president does this moment should stand. That's one of the reliefs you're seeking, correct?
That's so. In accordance with the Constitution, if he follows the laid-down procedure, that should stand.
That should stand. But we're looking at the letter of the Constitution, and we've got the spirit of the Constitution. What is the spirit of the Constitution? Because at the end of the day, you're looking at putting together or putting people in offices, people that you're not going to be working with necessarily. You've got a few days out and you start appointing people.
I believe if you read all the reliefs, especially the third relief or the second, where the transitional committee all that had come together at saying that there had been a tacit agreement between the parties that they should be consulted before, if there is going to be any appointment or there's going to be any contract, should be made by the president. I said that no.
It's inconsistent, you say, with the provision of Article 58(1).
Yes, it's unconstitutional, because if we allow that dangerous precedence to remain as a convention, that would be some chaos that we may have on our hand moving forward. Because can we say that there is a tacit agreement between the transitional committee that should supersede the constitutional provision or the mandate that an exercise should be done when Council of State has been consulted and it's okay. Now, you are talking about the spirit of the
Constitution. Exactly.
The spirit of the Constitution envisages that what kind of mischief can be played. Is there a mischief being played here? No. All that is being complained about.
How do we know that there isn't mischief being played here?
Listen,
because that's common sense work in the legal terrain.
That is why the Constitution has expressly said that when a president is elected and he's sworn in, he has 4 years, complete 4 years. He has that mandate to exercise.
Is it not more of a deficiency, if I should use that word, on the part of the Constitution, of our Constitution, something that we should probably look at amending so that we can factor in, you know, because the moments close to change of governance is not necessarily a good point in time where you change or where you put people in sensitive positions, where you appoint people into sensitive positions, people that you're not going to be working with.
No, you see, that is where the thinking, if we have this thinking, that is where it even divides the populace. You polarize the system, the populace. If you are appointed, you are a public officer. Public officer, you have allegiance to the state, and you work with any government that comes in at the end of the day.
That's very idealistic.
No, it's not idealistic. If you're a head of institution or any person, one person cannot make any difference. If you have a direction and the people do not buy into your vision and will not go with you, because the government that is coming in has its policy, you would have to buy aligned your orientation, everything to the state. It is only when it is a policy that would undermine or will not be in tune of what is the general vision and policy of the state. So if the person, even you think, does not agree with you, that does not give you the right and say that because he does not agree with me or he does not belong to where my thinking or my orientation, because even as a public officer, when he gets there, he knows his duty. He knows what he has to do. He knows that he has to obey lawful instructions. So if we start that way, we get society polarized. And they say, why? Two, you see, when you're appointing people, it goes through a process. If you understand governance, it goes through a process. Council of State would definitely have to look at it. Let's narrow it as to why the rates here. Council of State would have to go through a process. It is not only one person that is normally nominated. There are a group of people, they look at the merits, they look at their strengths, they look at their weaknesses.
Why are you doing this, if I should ask you? Why are you doing this? Is it for fear of,
no,
of course, we know that you are aligned.
Fear.
You are aligned. You are a legal practitioner, but you are aligned to a particular political party. Is this for fear of the people who have been appointed by your party losing their jobs that you're doing this?
Not at all.
Why?
I'm aligned, but that does not mean that politics cloud my judgment.
Hopefully not.
Yes, I'm a legal practitioner, and I think that I have a duty to protect the Constitution.
Okay.
Now, we have seen severally that some of these things that happen has brought about, polarization. People are asked, proceed on leave. You are off. It has also brought about contract others being reviewed, which I said, if it is not right, it is not done properly, it should be reviewed.
Okay.
They have the power. But if things are being done this way, that would mean that we are creating a precedent that every government that would come in would also. But now, if we enforce all the provisions of the Constitution, it is interpreted and the Supreme Court enforces that it is done in accordance with the Constitution. Nobody reserves a right to tinker with it. Then a precedent will have been laid that if you come, that's what you follow. Now, the bad faith, maybe they are saying, it's that few months in your term to the end, or in the
few days actually.
In the twilight of your tenure, you do appointments. Now, this appointment, let's see, did you go through the process?
Why could you not do it in the whole 4 years that you were in power and then start doing it a few days?
No, that's why I'm telling you that it's always goes through a process. One of the things maybe a lot of people wouldn't know is that when somebody has to be put, the BNI, Bureau of National Investigation, does a thorough background check.
I see.
Now, a thorough background check would take more than 6 months to be done. If this are done, and don't forget these people had been acting in that position. They have held, not that they have not been members of that commission. They have been members of that commission. They've been doing work. It is not about the personalities or the position. What I want is that those provisions should always be interpreted and enforced so that nobody comes and sets a bad precedent. If not, we will see several of this happening. At the end of the day, if a new government comes, different things will happen. It does not augur well for us as a nation.
Okay, and that's why you are in court.
It
will be interesting to see the outcome of this particular case. But we've got to talk about Parliament tonight. We've got to go into Parliament. You sound excited already. How many friends do you have in there, by the way?
Oh, I have a lot of friends on both sides.
If you could put a number to it, we'll say, what, 20, 30, 100?
Very close friends, I would say. Almost about 20.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. No wonder you're excited. So let me just give you a brief about the new leadership. I already told you about the old leadership. Let's look at the new leadership, and then we can begin to talk about what they bring on board. Okay. So you can see what's happening in Parliament at this moment. Some conversation going on there. Probably some of them looking for their seats, the new ones who are coming in, looking for their seats. Of course, there would be, there would be a whole different setup. Now we're going to, here is what Parliament would look like for the minority. This is what it will look like, 106 seats for them there, and then we'll be having what it looks like for the majority as well. This is 106 seats for the minority. It must be a change of, emotion, not just emotion for them. I mean, after doing this for about 8 years, they should be feeling, out of place.
Gifty, sometimes I always say we are students of history. It is just history that has repeated itself. The same thing happened in 2008. In 2008, the NPP was, lost heavily, was swallowed by the NDC. I believe that this is an opportunity that has been, because Ghanaians were yearning for change. And that was the change that came in 2008.
Okay.
It's the same thing that we have seen in 2016. So you see history repeating itself. For me, what is the golden thread that we need to learn? What are the issues that happened? I believe that the 6th Parliament have done their bit. In as much as there were few misunderstandings between them, it is always said the majority would always have their way and the minority will have their say. But I believe that it enriches the discussion. Now, when you go to Parliament, one of the things you quickly recognize is that everything that goes on in Parliament are guided by the standing orders.
Okay.
It is not just about the social commentary that we do outside and you think you can import that. No, it is. And Parliament also comes with seniority, how fast you learn. That's why you have the backbenchers, the front benchers, and the leadership. So you learn, you are groomed or you are chaperone. When you are chaperone, you get to know the act of making laws.
Okay.
So it's a lot of work, especially when it comes to the committee work. If you haven't participated in the committee work, you will sit somewhere and think that they just go there, talk, and nothing. The committee work, they take every section of a law and they look at every word, the meaning, especially when it comes to legal drafting.
Okay. Now we can see Alhaji Muntaka Mubarak there with Esla Usu Kufo there. Adjosafo, is that Adjosafo?
Yes,
she does look different to me. Did we lose that briefly? It will come back. Okay, so Adjosafo there, Napo there as well, having that conversation. It looks all nice, all pretty, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is interesting.
And of course, you see the winners in white. Oh, that's Mr. Okovandapoy there, enjoying himself. Did you see that video of him and former President Rawlings?
Yes, I saw it. I saw the trending, but I think I've also spoken to few people who were around, who actually saw what actually happened, because there was no audio attached to the picture.
So what did they say happened?
There have been different interpretation to it. Actually, when he met him, the mayor met him, I think he said something and they said, okay, later. They would meet later and talk. Now, if you go with the protocols with the red carpet, you know, normally you don't, people who even go with it, it is a little bit some meters away and normally on their left. So when he was coming and he was telling him that later they will meet, they will have that discussion. Right. I believe that because there was no audio to it.
No, but seriously, when you're getting close to somebody, yes, and the person goes like this.
No, it was also maybe the breach of protocol. Okay. Because if he really maybe understood the kind of protocol with the red carpet and on the right, normally nobody, it is the guest, and you know, I believe that is the reason.
You believe that's what happened?
That's what happened. I see. And there's another one that is also trending.
The picture of the vice president?
The picture of the former president when he was sitting. You know, people stood up. Yeah. And people want to interpret it that when the president got into the parliament, he never stood up. That was not the case. Okay. It was, the case was that he stood up, everybody stood up. Then when the prayer was being said, that's how he bowed his head down. So it was during the prayer that people were standing, he sat down and bowed down the head.
Okay.
You know, so,
yes. I hear you. Well, let me just quickly touch on the minority leadership before we move on to talk about the majority. In terms of minority leadership, we're looking at minority leader is Haruna Idrisu. Haruna Idrisu is the member of parliament for Tamale South. He is also the outgoing Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, and he has served on a number of committees in Parliament as well, including the Appointments Committee, the Constitutional Committee, the Legal and Parliamentary Committee, as well as the Judicial Committee. And that is the man there, right there in your shots, the Member of Parliament for Tamale South. He's becoming the minority leader. Of course, if you know him, he's been into student activism for some time. He was a leader, the president of the National
Union of
Ghana students there. And he's risen through the ranks to become a minister. Now he is, minority leader, is able to retain his seat there. His deputy, by the way, is James Kluche Aveji. James Kluche Aveji, who is also a member of parliament for Ketu North. He is a chartered accountant. He has served in parliament for 12 long years, and he is a chairman of the finance committee of Parliament. And we've got the minority chief whip, which is Alhaji Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak, member of parliament for Aswase in the Ashanti region. Well, if you know, of course, you of course, requested to proceed on leave during the allegations of corruption against him, and that case was being investigated. He resigned from government following the acceptance by President Mills of the findings of the investigating committee. A bit of background there about him. He was born at Akuse in the Eastern region and worked as a teacher, and then later got into politics. He first entered parliament on the ticket of the NDC in 2005. Where he won the constituency, the Asawase constituency, with a majority, replacing Dr. Jibrin, also of the NDC, who had won that seat in 2004. Deputy minority chief whip again, we've got member of parliament for Banda, who is Ahmed Ibrahim. Ahmed Ibrahim holds a BA in political science and philosophy from the University of Ghana in 2001. He's served on the various committees. He served on the Business Committee, the Communications Committee, the Education Committee, and the Public Accounts Committee. he is going to be ably supported by Comfordoyo Gansa. If you know this woman, she's a member of parliament for Ada East. She holds a certificate in journalism in radio and television from the Ghana Institute of Journalism. She has been on the Committee on Gender and Children and also Foreign Affairs. So that is the deputy minority. That is for the minority. Do I have Alban Bagbin? I should have Alban Bagbin somewhere. I'll get it for you. Okay, so there he is. He is the then majority leader. He is now second deputy speaker, and with a beautiful smile there, moving from majority to minority. Interesting to know how they feel. But
if the interesting thing is that with this parliament, the only thing.
You mean the current parliament?
Yeah, the new parliament.
Oh, the new parliament. Okay.
We don't have any independent. All the independent people lost their seats.
Their seats.
You know, so now we have only two parties in parliament. We have
NPP, NDC, hardcore.
Hardcore. There's no, which I thought it was not too good. CPP lost their only seat. We had about almost 4 independent, and they have all lost their seats.
Is that a good thing? You said it's not, but how bad is it?
I don't think that it's augur well for our democracy, in as much as the law, the constitution guarantees political parties, and political parties has to field candidates. It should be the vehicle. I believe that when people or civil society and others decide that they think there is a good material, a good candidate that should represent them, they should be given that opportunity. But you realize that most of the independents that comes, it is that when they are embittered, that they have lost their primaries, then they come as independent. And most people, so you realize that it tells you now the parties have taken a strong stand against any independent, any person who loses. And, you know, so you see the parties are making inroads now. So anybody who comes and he loses primaries, he's embittered and says things that I can go for independent, I don't think it's advisable.
It's
looking
not advisable.
at the trend.
Well, we've got MPP and NDC in the studio. Now, let's talk about, in Parliament now. Let's talk about the majority in Parliament. What's going to be majority in Parliament? We've got I've spoken about minority leader already. The majority leader, that's going to be Osei Mensah Bonsu. Okay, there you've got some graphics there. This is how it's going to look like for the majority, 169 for them. It's interesting how they're going to, you know, take I don't know what you see, you know, from the composition, you know, from the composition of parliaments at this moment, 169, and then what we saw previously. Who is going to catch the speaker's eye most, if I should put it that way?
Although it depends on the speaker. I think that's for the duty of the job of the speaker. We have both the minority and the majority.
Right.
It is always that the speaker is seen to be impartial. The speaker must be seen to be objective.
Okay.
Yes, because he does not belong to any of the two parties, although he's been nominated by, yes, technically
that's
he's supposed to be independent.
That's an interesting balance. Now, let me just tell you, the speaker, we're looking at Professor Aaron Michael Quay. Professor Michael Quay, of course, he's NPP. A bit of information about him is that he's a lawyer and a historian as well. He served as the second deputy speaker of the House between 2009 and 2013. He was a member of Parliament for Dom Kwabenya from 2005 to 2013, and he has also served as Ghana's High Commissioner to India from 2001 to 2004. He was Minister of Energy from 2005 to 2006 and Minister of Communications from 2006 to 2009. We've got, I just got to pick your brains on his leadership. What we should expect of his leadership in Parliament. I mean, I don't know. Would you like to compare him and Mr. Doajaho? as to their leadership style? Were we going to see any major difference in how both of them?
I believe he's been. If I will also say again that it's like history repeating itself. The Honorable Peter Alajete used to be the chair of the Constitutional and Legal Committee of the NPP.
Okay.
You know, and he, coincidentally, he is also the chair of the Constitutional and Legal Committee of the NPP, who is now going to occupy that position.
Okay.
I believe he's had an experience being the second deputy speaker when he was in Parliament. So I believe that is an experience that he has. I'd always, one of the things that I had admired about the Honorable Peter Alajete of blessed memory was that everybody knew where he was coming from. He used to be the chair of NPP.
Okay.
But in the performance of his duty, one of the things he said is that the issue is that you cannot say you will not be impartial. For him, there was nothing like not being impartial, but you have to be very objective and be fair. You might have your own leanings, but you just have to be fair. You have to be objective in your doing, because posterity will judge you. I believe that he has gone through the mill. He's done well for himself and the party.
Professor Michael Quay.
Professor Michael Quay.
Right.
And I believe that he should be able to steer the affairs of the
Parliament.
7th Parliament.
I see. Well, the majority leader is Honorable Osei Mensah Bonsu. Osei Mensah Bonsu, and he, of course, comes from the Bremang Afrancho in Kumasi in the Ashanti region. He's got 5 children to his credit, and he holds a BSc in planning from the KNUST. He got that in 1982. He's a development planner, architect, quantity surveyor, and he is a fellowships with Assemblies of God Church. He obtained, 45,235 votes, which was 78.3% in the last election. Now represents, of course, the NPP in Parliament. Well, he's served on a number of committees in Parliament. We're looking at the Appointments Committee, the Business Committee, the Committee of Selection, the House Committee, Lands and Forestry Committee, Special Budgets Committee, and Standing Orders Committee. We're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7 committees he served on. We've got, just after him, we've got the first deputy speaker. The first deputy speaker is Mr. Joseph Osei Usu. Joseph Osei Usu is a lawyer and a member of parliament for Bekwai. He will be also supported by the member of parliament for Dom Kwabenya, Madam Sarah Adwa Safo. The majority chief whip is Akwesi Ameyao Shreme from Jene, who is also
for Sunyani East.
Right. He's also a member of parliament for Sunyani East, from the Bunahafo region. And then, yes, I'll pick your thoughts on these people and what they bring to parliament. What's different are we expected to see, or business as usual?
No, I don't think it's going to be business as usual. I believe that the majority leader has acquitted himself. He's shown that he's been long in parliament, has served. I believe he's an institution on its own. He's done so much very well as a minority leader. And now that he's becoming majority leader, I believe he's going to be in government. He will be the leader of government business. And we may not see him very vociferous as he used to be, because in minority, when you're in minority, sometimes there are some kind of wild allegations that can be made. But whilst you're in government, you know, it comes with something I always call the incumbency disadvantage. You need to comport yourself as government. You can't just go and make wild allegation, because you are executing the policies. Now people would have to be criticizing you, constructive criticism. It will tell you that this policies, and you know, whilst you're in government, there are some policies that has an undertone. What are the undertones that would come? Is it political undertone, or purely public policy. Those are things that would go into. So I don't expect to see much of him. What I see as a majority leader will have to do, will be able to
bring the people together.
Bring them together for consensus. That will be the way it will work. The minority would always want to put them on their toe, would always want to give them constructive criticism. Yet, so you would see the minority to be more vociferous because they are in opposition. And they would always make sure they put you on your toe, keep you to your word, keep you to, and want to scrutinize more and see. And now Parliament, because he has majority leader, has to liaise with the executive. Because in as much as they have their own policies, they have the policies as to keep the party going, as to keep government going, and so it is going to be a blend. And some of these things.
I'd like for us to maybe later on talk about how the RTI bill, for instance, how you foresee that the RTI bill, for instance, will fare in the next parliament, because this is a bill that has been in parliament for over a decade and we still did not see it through. So it'll be interesting to see how it fares in the next parliament. But in the meantime, let's have a look at what's happening in parliament. It's just about 3 minutes on top of the hour 11, and we're expecting that by 12 the entire parliament will be seated. I mean, you've seen these a couple of the change of hands like this in parliament at this point, and Elton has told us that very soon the clerk of parliament will take over and he will be she'll begin whoever it is will begin to
because it's a new parliament. Until the speaker is elected, he cannot take over. So it is the clerk of parliament that will do all the arrangements, see to the election of the speaker, the first deputy, and the second deputy. When these people are elected and he's sworn in, the speaker is sworn in, then he takes over the parliament. He now takes over. Now, if you look at there's also a parliamentary service board. That parliamentary service board, the speaker is actually the head of that parliamentary service board. Right. So the work of the clerk and the speaker are a little bit interwoven. He takes much of the administrative work that is being done, whilst the speaker concentrates more on the institution itself.
That it does look like a full house right there, and we're expecting that in just a few, it's going to be less than an hour, and then things will change. I mean, I don't know how it appears that a lot of people are looking forward to this change. I don't know if it's because one party is losing to the other, or one party is changing, or we're changing parties in terms of governance. But it looks as if a lot of people are looking forward to this. Usually around this time, I mean, what are we expected to see? We're expected to see the clerk of parliament come and do whatever they're supposed to do, and then what? And then that's it. They change hands, and then maybe a few words here and there.
When the clerk of parliament comes in, the speaker is elected, then the other leaders are elected, just as we've seen.
That's it.
Now, with this one, I don't think we will have so much problem issues. If you go back to 2005, where the speakers, two people were proposed. The Honorable Alajete was proposed. Sechi Hughes, right? Honorable Sechi Hughes was proposed to be the speaker. And the minority at that time also proposed Alajete. Right. So there was some kind of confusion. In Parliament.
But in this case, we've got a consensus. I mean, we've got the party to come to a consensus and choose one person.
Yes, the parties have agreed. There's a consensus on this, that Professor Mike Okwe. Even though we have seen different issues, I think that the parties, they themselves have realized that it was a kind of embarrassment. So almost all parties now makes an effort to make sure that we get our leadership, so that there's a consensus.
So we don't have to waste everybody else's time. Okay, I'm going to come back to you, Davudu, but on the telephone line now with me is David Ando. He was earlier on at the Accra International Conference Center, where dozens of journalists, we understand, are waiting or have been waiting for accreditation for tomorrow's event. And this is an event that all of us have been looking forward to. Hello, David. What's happening? How long did you... I think I lost him there, but it appears that he's been waiting for long. And this is also a story that's trending on social media. The inauguration process, you've got to go through accreditation as media houses and then get your accreditation so that tomorrow you can, you know, cover the elections without any security issues. Now, these are some of the pictures from the this is just an inauguration, and the NPP cannot handle it. But that's really, you cannot put the blame on the NPP. It's just like it's a two group thing, isn't it? It's just transition team that's working.
The transition team, it's statutory. You know, the Transition Act makes that there's a number of people who makes the transition team, and even where they decide the committees. So they put people in the committees. And you could see today, when they were doing it, you would see Commodore Steve Obimpe, who is in charge, presidential staffer in charge of the estates and organization. He was there with Lord Comey. All of them were doing, so they work hand in hand, because the president, His Excellency John Dramani, has a responsibility to make sure that the inauguration goes on well.
So whose fault is it that at this point, as of what's the time again? 11. As of 11, the journalists do not have accreditation that's required for them to report or to cover the inauguration. That's in a few hours.
I just believe that it should not be an issue of technology failing them. Those are issues that, you know, you need to go through a process. The process of doing it, getting the names, putting it together.
I'll come back to you. Let's get some more information so that we can tease out that information. Hello, David. Have we got you now?
Okay.
Good. Tell us how long you had to wait for your accreditation today at the conference center.
In fact, the situation was a total mess, because I got to the conference center around 2 o'clock, and we were asked to wait for them to bring out our accreditation. And we were waiting, and another person also came there and asked us to write our names, put our names somewhere, and asked us to wait. Then we also saw some people writing different names. We went there, we put our names there, and we waited, and then they came back to call us to go to where we took our pictures, and we had the hope that when we get there, or when we go there, we will get our accreditation. When we went there, we saw many people were stranded, and they were even struggling with the people who were carrying the excise. And these people also asked us to wait outside, and journalists became impatient, and they started shouting, and the whole place became messed up.
I see. So how many people are we talking about here? If you can, you know, cast your mind back to the number of journalists at the time who were waiting for their accreditation and who did not have it at the time you left.
There were many. There were. Let me say, you could count 200 people.
Wow.
And some of them were in the office. Some of them were also standing outside. You could see some of the officials were engaging them, actually begging them to exercise patience and all that. And, you know, the moment this man leaves, you see another person also coming with a list. So journalists were running from place to place just to get the accreditation. But we kept on writing our names. So a lady from conference center came to the accreditation center and asked us to come back to conference center, where we saw Perio Kujeto also discussing some issues with the people carrying the exit. So we went to conference center to wait, and they brought some of the accreditation, and the people were annoyed. Some of them were sleeping on bed floor, others were complaining of hunger, others were also, it was a messy situation.
I see. And we're looking at who, at the point you went there, was in charge. Who were you supposed to be working with to get the accreditation?
No, there was nobody. You see, Conference Center, for instance, there was this lady. I don't know whether she was representing the ISD or National Security. She was, let me say, since Monday, she has been there, directing affairs. So she was actually in charge. But if you ask her any technical question or details, she will not tell you. And if you go to where the exercise is going on, there is nobody to because all of them are, you could see, security officials, and they were not ready to tell you whatever it is. The only thing you see them doing, pushing the people, go back, shouting at them and all that. So this is what was going on. So we asked to come back, and there was this young man who brought a lot of them, and I managed to secure some for multimedia.
I see. So you've got a few of the accreditations for yourself and for a few of our colleagues?
Yes, but as at now, there are many people still waiting for their accreditation, and if you go to the center itself, there are also people still waiting. Okay. And nobody knows how this situation became so messy like that, because, issuing accreditation to journalists to cover a program shouldn't take, too long like that, or, become so difficult like that. And people were saying that they saw some people securing accreditation who have little role to play in this program.
I see. It sounds like a very frustrating situation. I'm sure that the journalists were equally frustrated. At the time you were leaving, were there still journalists waiting for the accreditation?
Yeah, there were still people, waiting for the accreditation, because the people had promised them that whatever the situation may be, they will issue them, give them the accreditation.
So they basically have to sleep there. So they basically have to sleep there. At this point, I'm sure there are still some people there.
Yeah, there are people there.
I see. Okay, thank you very much, David Ando. David Ando is a photojournalist with myjoyonline.com, to be specific, but of course with Multimedia Group there, telling us about his experience today having to get his accreditation for tomorrow's inauguration, which is the big day that a lot of people are looking forward to. He tells me that it was, to borrow his words, a total mess today getting that accreditation. He went there as of 2 p.m. and as you can hear him say, he left not long ago with a few of the accreditation, not all of them. We can now go to Kumasi, where Ohiming-Teria reports that the inauguration fever has gripped the city. We do know that the Ashanti region, of course, has been, if you like, the hotbed for the NPP.
That's so.
And so you would expect ordinarily that there will be a lot of excitement for them as we wait for tomorrow.
Definitely. I believe all the parties know where their strongholds, their hotbeds. They know, and
it's interesting that you talk about this strong bed thing and talk about the stronghold thing, because you just mentioned polarization and all of that. But the more we encourage this, the more the polarization, escalates. Is that not correct?
Yeah. So it is, for me. It is how government now should be able to bring the people together. Whatever you do, there will always be a hotbed for every political activity. But it is what you do, the relationship. As I heard the president-elect, when he went to Volta region on the tour, he said he was now going to marry the bride, Volta region as a bride. I'm sure they would also be waiting to see whether he will walk the talk. When he went to even Eastern region, where he felt some people, traditionally it was felt that it was not their stronghold, that is among the troubles. He said, look, he wants to deepen the relationship, the friendship that he has with the Krobos. So those are issues, but it did not start today. It has remote issues. That's why people, if you go down into history, when they had the NAL, that is the Komnak Bedema, was leading the National Alliance of the Liberals, in Kumasi, it was purported to be he was the one going to win at the end of the day, out of the disappointment he had. Now, if you fast forward, you would see some comment that was made by Victor Wusu in voter reading that they were inward-looking people. They had paid dearly for it, and it makes that deep mistrust and suspicion. I think it is time that the president-elect now knows much, because he's been wanted to be the president, and this has been for over 20 years, almost 20 years. He started in 1996 when he contested with President Kufuor, and he'd been given the opportunity. So now that he has the opportunity, I think it is time for him to prove people wrong, to prove that, look, I'm for this nation, I believe in this nation, and I can do it. I have planned for it. So when people say the expectation to be managed is too high, I think that he knows what he had long waited for and what he wanted to do. So he should put all his plans are already afoot, and I'm sure that they will hit
the ground running.
It is. They have all their plans, everything together.
Hopefully
they know
will.
how the kitty looks like, the economy, the facts, everything.
That's the bigger picture.
Something they know. Yeah.
That's the bigger picture. But we do know, of course, that tonight we start in Parliament, and tomorrow the inauguration should kick off. And by the end of the day tomorrow, Ghana should have a new president in the person of Nana Akufo-Addo. Now we can go back to Parliament, where all the action tonight is. Elton Brobe is standing by with an update. As you can see right there, it's a full house. Elton, over to you.
All right. The President of Parliament House. What we are all waiting for is for that time when the Clerk of Parliament will usher into the chamber the 7th Parliament. Now, technically, the 6th Parliament is still in session until the midnight of today. Now, according to the program that we have, the program itself will start at 5 minutes into the new day. And by that time, the expectation is that all guests will have been seated, including members of Parliament, those who have been elected, and those who will form the composition of the 7th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Now, at 15 minutes after midnight, or 15 minutes into the new day, Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice and Justices of the Supreme Court will enter the chamber and take their seats. And at 20 minutes into the new day, the Marshal will place the maize on the table. The clerk at the table will also enter the chamber together with his staff. There's going to be the opening prayer by the Clerk of Parliament. The reason why the Clerk of Parliament will be performing this role is the fact that we don't have a presiding officer or a speaker yet. That will be a key responsibility of the Clerk of Parliament to administer or to supervise the election of the incoming Speaker of Parliament, the First Deputy Speaker, and the Second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Now, what is going to happen is that once the clerk sits in to preside over the meeting, the clerk will invite nominations for the election of the Speaker of Parliament. Now, and then the MPP majority, the leader, will rise and then nominate their choice for the speakership. And as everybody is aware by now, Professor Michael Quay is going to be the speaker. That is pending the approval of Parliament. And the clerk will proceed to declare the results after the election. The speaker will be conducted into the chamber. Now, the speaker-elect will submit himself or herself to the will of the House. But as we all know that we have 3 males, being nominated for this particular position. We are not expecting a female, so it's going to be a him. Now, Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, will proceed to the dais and administer the Speaker's oath. That will not be the end of the story. Now, the Speaker-elect will subscribe to the oath of allegiance and the Speaker's oath. The Clerk of Parliament, assisted by the clerks at table, adorns the Right Honourable Speaker with the Speaker's robe and conducts him to the chair. And that will begin his job as the Speaker for the 5th Parliament, the 7th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Now, members of Parliament elect will rise to subscribe to the oath of allegiance and the oath of a member of Parliament to be administered by the Right Honourable Speaker. Now, the Right Honourable Speaker will again invite nomination for the election of the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Members of Parliament will elect the choice of the majority side, as we know, is a member of Parliament for Bekwai Joe Oseiwusu, and he will have to be voted for. If approved by members of Parliament, he also take the oath. Now, members of Parliament elects will again select the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. The Right Honourable Speaker will declare the results again. The Right Honourable Speaker will formally present the first and second Deputy Speakers to the House. Now, the Right Honourable Speaker will suspend sitting of the House. By that time, he would have given us his introductory remarks, and then that will bring to an end the program for today. All in all, we are expecting at least an hour or more for this particular program to end. Once he adjourns the House, they'll reconvene again at 10 a.m. at the Independence Square, because it will also be a sitting of Parliament where the President-elect and the Vice President will take oath in front of the representatives of the people, that's members of Parliament. So it's going to be a long day, starting from a minute into the new day, into the wee hours of Saturday. But on sets today, we're going to look at what is to come. Fortunately, these gentlemen are here. The reason why they are here is because they won an election and they are waiting to be ushered into the chamber and also ushered into the 7th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. I have here Mr. Honorable Ben Abdallah. He's a member of Parliament elect. As a matter of fact, he's technically still a member of Parliament for Offensive South until midnight, and he will continue in that same capacity in the 7th Parliament. Honorable Ben Abdallah, you're welcome to join us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Also, is a member of Parliament for Kadzea, Richard Koshiga, also will be going into his second term as member of Parliament in some 50 or so minutes. Honorable Koshiga, you're welcome to join us.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And a Happy New Year.
Same to you.
All right, so, we are waiting for the program to start. According to the program, we have 5 minutes into the new day for this to go through. You'll be doing this for the second time, so you are not new to the procedure, but how ready are you?
Well, thank you so much. It appears it's not midnight yet, but I already find myself in a position because the seating arrangements have changed.
Yeah, they've reconfigured the chamber. You are now on the left side.
I'm now on the left side of the speaker. So I entered the chamber this almost 11 p.m. this evening, only to find myself on the other side. Probably that could be a good test case in the law courts.
How does it feel, you being in opposition after being in government for 4 years? As member of Parliament anyway.
Yeah, well, I think that it's just sunk in that indeed we are in opposition. That indeed we can largely have our say and not our way. It's a bit nostalgic thinking of the fact that your party was in government and members of ministers of state and deputy ministers, the president and the vice president, were people that you oftentimes could sit around table with, discuss issues of national affairs sometimes, and it's a misfeeling.
All right, I'll come back to look at your role in the about to be dissolved Parliament, because you are on the Public Accounts Committee and also the Committee of Communications. But Honorable Ben Abdallah, you went into battle. The people have reposed their confidence in you again. You are back in the House. Are you ready for the challenge ahead going into the 7th Parliament?
Oh, yes. I think that as you rightly pointed out in respect of my friend's case, this is not the first time I'm to be sworn into office as the Member of Parliament for Offensive South. I was here in 2009. In 2013, I was here. And then 2017, this is my third time.
I've been doing it for the past 8 years now.
So you've been in government?
I've been in opposition for the past 8 years now.
For the past 8 years,
and
right.
It's not been easy. I've been through a pressure upon pressure. But God being so good, the era of the opposition is over. We have been ushered into a new era, the era being that the new Patriotic Party is now going to take the mantle from the outgoing NDC government. So we know the 7th, the 6th of January is going to come because it is something that we are all anticipating. And very soon it's going to come, and members of parliament elect are going to be sworn into office. Prior to that, the Speaker of Parliament will have to come. First Deputy Speaker of Parliament will have to come. Second Deputy Speaker of Parliament will have to come. So with respect to my preparedness for the incoming events,
you are ready?
Yes, I'm very ready.
And fortunately also for you, you have what? Comfortable majority in the House, 169 MPs, and for the NDC, 106. And the concern for many is that, you know, because Parliament cannot initiate anything on its own, the executive must put before the House business for you to now consider. Are we not likely to repeat the criticism that, I mean, I have been privy to in the last 4 years? The Parliament has become a rubber stamp. You now find yourself in government. Is it not going to be a continuation of what people have said, that Parliament should be able to bite, but because of the constitutional provision, it's become very difficult to act in that particular manner?
To be, should I say fortunately or unfortunately, has been a constitutional arrangement. That is how our 1992 Constitution has been arranged. It depends on how you look at Parliament. Obviously, and by law, the business of the House is generated from the executive side of the government.
Right.
As and when business is given to Parliament, Parliament will have to work on that business. Now, if no business is generated, it means that Parliament doesn't have any work to do. Unfortunately, we're going to have an opposition side of the House that, to me, to a large extent, is going to be formidable. So it depends on the opposition to ensure that whatever the majority side of the House does, to a large extent, conforms to the standing orders of the House, to a large extent, conforms to whatever law is currently applicable.
All right, so yeah, I'll come back to you. So, Honorable Kwesiga, on that particular score, to what extent is the incoming NDC minority going to play the oversight role to ensure value for money, to ensure that we are not in short change?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that largely it will require that we pay attention to detail as to the business that is brought from the executive. And I mean, we will not just take things on their face value. We'll have to scrutinize a lot more and dig deeper in order to ensure that whatever business that is being brought before the House is in the utmost interest of the people of Ghana. If we find anything untoward, anything that is not in the interest of the people of Ghana, it is for us to raise it. We will talk about it. We will, if it would require a walkout in order to really register our protest, we will have to do that.
Is that a kind of opposition the MPP should look forward to?
Well, walkouts are necessarily accepted in our parliament. We've had a few occasions when the MPP applied that tool
when they were on the side that we are on now. And I think that it must be applied only when it is in the interest of the people of Ghana. I think that I'm not saying that that is what should be expected, but then desperate situations will call for desperate measures. It will become a measure to adopt in order to tell the people of Ghana that, look, we take exception to this line of business that government wants to pursue. You'll realize that largely they have an absolute majority, to put it that way, meaning that they can get their businesses through without any inhibition or any stumbling block from
I think
outside.
the only limitation on their part is that they don't have the two-thirds.
They don't have two-thirds.
That may, help them if they want to amend the constitution. That you fall short.
They don't have that. But again, they can largely carry out
government business, even without you,
even without us, And so we need to hold them very strongly to in the interest of the people of Ghana. I mean, we will be failing our people if we don't do that. And I think that is what will encourage the people of Ghana to really give us a nod in 2020.
All right. So, Honorable Abdallah, so how then do we strengthen Parliament? For example, you coming from offensive side, you represent your people, that you'll be able to vote on matters based on the wishes and aspirations of your people, and not because you are an MP in Parliament. How do we move to that stage?
I have to balance the two.
But it's always not be the case.
I have to balance the two. Whatever decision we take as a party, we have to look at the national interests. That ought to be the overriding the consideration. And probably we have to look at the party interests. And more often than not, my point of view here is that what is the interest of my constituency to a large extent should fall in tandem with what is the national interests. The party interest may be there, all right, but as much as practicable, the national interest ought to override the party interest. We are in Parliament to do business. We are in Parliament to ensure that the promises that we have made are brought into fruition. That is why we are in Parliament. If we do anything short of fulfilling the promises that Nana Akufo-Addo in his campaign trails made to the people of Ghana,
right,
then the party risk the chance of losing the next election. So we've made a lot of promises, like one district, one factory, one dam, one village, $1 million for every constituency. These are the issues that we have to look at very critically. So the party interest may be there, but to a large extent, the national interest ought to override the party interest. Right. So Parliament, to us this time around, is not going to be a rubber stamp Parliament.
It's not easier said than that.
It's not going to be a rubber stamp Parliament. As members of Parliament, we have our core functions. The executive has their core functions. The judiciary have
be able
a
to achieve that
government run.
It's easier said than done. Oftentimes, I think that the way our constitution is structured, does not allow Parliament to have that full independence that it ought to. So those who find themselves in the majority in government tend to do the bidding of the executive more than what is really expected of the legislator. And so oftentimes there were bills that were brought to Parliament that I obviously had problems with. you know, I sometimes only go walk to the leader and, you know, whisper to him that I think I have a challenge with this bill, you know.
Just you can't express it on the floor.
But you can't express, it's difficult to express it on the floor. And because when you tend to express it on the floor, it will appear as though you are opposing your own government.
Yeah.
You know, and it shows some level of disrespect also to the government of which you are supposed, on whose ticket you came to parliament, you know. And so it's quite very challenging, it's very dicey, and you may end up being classified as controversial. But I think that ought to be the right thing to do. That if the bill or the business is not in the interest of the people, you ought to oppose it. I recall that there was this issue about Anyako water, where the people of Anyako, whom I represent, have been crying over potable water. If you recall, when the Minister of Water Resources, Western Housing, came to this house and gave an overview, I stood up, you know, to lament bitterly and used expressions and words and adjectives that were unpalatable, you know, as far as the NDC government was concerned. So sometimes, yes, very daring members of parliament whose party is in government can stand up, you know, to challenge the status quo. You know, but again also, there could be repercussions.
All right. I need to wrap up on this so that we can bring in other guests for us to continue with the discussion. But very briefly, you have new leaders. For the NDC side, you have Haruna Idrusu, Honorable James Kucha, whom you wanted to become the minority leader, but unfortunately he's now in a deputy position. And then you have Muntaka Mubarak, Ahmed Ibrahim, and Komfodoyo. You have confidence that they will deliver, they will provide a kind of defense, first line of defense that you seek.
We're absolutely confident, and we necessarily will give them the backing that they need.
All right.
Yes, we will hold our opponents to their commitment to the people of Ghana and their promises as well.
Yeah, same question to you, Honorable Abdallah. Chairman Sabonsu, Adjasafo, people say that she's young and may not be able to, you know, hold the house together in the absence of the majority leader. Do you have confidence in the composition of your leadership as you have it?
As for Chairman Sabonsu, his competence,
it's not in doubt.
I mean, it's not in doubt. And Adjasafo has been in Parliament for 4 years now. I've worked with her on the same committee for almost 4 years now. Her contributions so far are quite intelligent. Okay. Her contributions on the floor of Parliament are very good. Okay. So I have no doubt, I have no lingering doubt in my mind that she will be able to deliver very diligently and competently. So I have absolute confidence in the delivery of Adjasafo with respect to the task that has been entrusted to her.
All right.
And with respect to the others too, they are all quite good. We've witnessed their performances on the floor of Parliament for quite some time now. So they are very good. So let's wait and see how events with respect to the 7th Parliament unfold before probably we can begin to be judgmental of what they do in Parliament.
So once the swearing is done with, and the president-elect is also given the power to administer, I'm sure that one of the things that you'll be coming to Parliament with will be the ministerial nominees, but key amongst them will be a presentation of a budget, because what was approved by Parliament will run till March. How soon are you hoping that your government will bring this before Parliament?
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
As soon as possible.
All right. So thank you very much, Honorable Ben Abdallah. He's a member of Parliament for Offenso South, and I want to let you go so that you can go and locate where they position you to sit in the chamber. Thank you very much. Yeah. So folks, we are so counting down to midnight and into the first 5 minutes into the new day, where we're going to have the 7th Parliament, you know, composed and, you know, taken through the rituals for them to be called members of Parliament. That's what we are all waiting to see. But ahead of that, we are bringing you the expectations of the people who make up the 7th Parliament. And this man actually overthrew a giant. I'm talking about Adongo Frank Fusen, who is the incoming member of Parliament for Zebula. Welcome to Joy News and congratulations.
Thank you, my brother.
Yes, and then we have the member of Parliament for Ho West, Honorable Emmanuel Bejra, who is the outgoing chairman of the Committee on Government Assurance.
I still have about 30 minutes more.
All right.
Yes, I'm still the chairman.
So you can still put people to their promises.
I can call the ministers now and I question them.
All right. Anyway, so that's interesting. So you're welcome once again. First of all, tell me, how did you do it?
Well, it is by the grace of God, really, and goodwill that actually helped me to be able to relieve one of the oldest MPs in Parliament. Yeah.
And are you ready for the challenge ahead?
Fully prepared. I'm fully prepared, yeah.
All right. Honorable Bejra, you also welcome, and you have 30 minutes more to cross into the new day and to begin your new assignment for the next 4 years. And how ready are you?
Well, I've always been ready, Alton, as you know. This my 3rd term. I'm going to my 3rd term now. By the grace of God, I happened to came here in 2009, and I've done all that I can. My people still gave their nod to me to come back in 2012. I came back in 2013, and then here I am again going for my 3rd term. I believe that there's a learning process in Parliament, and I've reached a curve where I know that I have at least learned the procedures and parliamentary procedures, and I believe that I'm fully prepared. Just that this time around is going to be on the other side of the Speaker. As you know, my 2 terms have been in power. My party has been in power. Now we are moving to the other side where I'll be in opposition. So I'm psyching myself. Well, it is part of life. You don't always have straight curves. Sometimes you should have curves or circles in a line, so that will make it more functionable and more approachable. So I'm prepared. I'm psyching myself up. I'm sure by the time that we take our oath, I should be fully prepared to do my work.
Mr. Adongo, are you conversant with the work of Parliament, the place that you'll be working for the next 4 years?
Natural fact, I'm a fresher, and I'm prepared to learn parliamentary proceedings, and I hope that I will cope very fast.
Yeah. But what stories are you carrying with you as you enter the chamber? What kind of Parliament are you expecting?
I'm expecting a Parliament of ease, because I belong to the majority side. And I think that the minority will surely support us, because we have good policies that we're going to put on the table. So I don't doubt that actually I'm going to enjoy Parliament.
Because we know, for those who are already in the House and also who've been here for 2-3 terms, the pressure that constituents bring to bear on them. Are you ready for that?
Battle ready. I'm battle ready, and I know I'm up to the task.
Is it easier said than done?
Well, for the freshers, you come with all kinds of expectation. My advice to especially those who are coming for the first time is to get themselves ready, because parliamentary work is a vocation, and that is why in our standing orders or even the Constitution, you are supposed to serve full time. If you don't have time for your parliamentary work, you will not be able to be very effective. Now, the other thing you freshers have to do is to learn fast. Those of us who came, we decided to study the whole standing orders and also look for issues, from that will be raised. Coming from the majority side at that time, we decided that I would specialize on governance. So I decided to take governance issues, especially when it comes to issues of promising. When you have ministers coming to the floor of the House giving promises to the people, and you notice that those promises are not being fulfilled, and that affects a lot of constituents who voted for us. So I decided
in relation to that, how well did your committee do in keeping ministers to deliver on the promises they made on the floor of Parliament and in the public space?
I think you remember the last minister that we hosted. That was the minister, then Minister of Power, who came and promised Ghanaians that if he does not fix the light problem, he will resign. Just after our public hearing, he resigned the following week. So it shows that we have done our work. We managed to put the ministers on their toes. Those who gave promises, some of them came back and fulfilled those promises. So I'm expecting whoever takes over this committee in the 7th Parliament, especially the chairman of that committee, should do well to continue with the spirit that we started with. He shouldn't think that because he belongs to the majority side, he will not bring his own colleagues to book. I have decided, I have done it, even though my party was in power, I decided to call my colleagues and ask questions and probe into promises. So I expect the incoming chairman.
The suggestion is that for a committee such as yours, and looking at the crucial role that it plays, the suggestion is that perhaps somebody on the minority side should rather chair it instead of a member of Parliament from the ruling government or the governing government being chair of a committee of governance, so that he will be fearless in pronouncing on some of these things. How do you respond to that?
Well, I supported the idea initially, but because in our standing orders, the standing orders have not been changed, so we cannot do it until the standing orders is changed. I supported it because just like the Public Accounts Committee and the Subsidiary Legislating Committee, all these committees are chaired by the minority side. I also think that yes, we can have teeth to bite when it's being chaired by the minority or by the opposing forces. But until we change our standing orders, it will still stand the same.
Yeah, Mr. Dongo, so from what background and how effective can you contribute to, enacting laws and helping advance the cause of parliamentary democracy?
In fact, I have a background of being an assembly member. I have lived my life in the assembly for 8 good years. Open my eyes wide and to learn, really.
Do you have any specific committee in mind, or you are willing to serve on any committee that the leadership may put you on?
In actual fact, I have a health background, so I know it will be one of the first committees that I think that I will be able to relevant. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, and then I'll be wrapping up with you, gentlemen, very soon. But I just wanted to spend some time to think about, for the retirement package for MPs who are outgoing. Some few days ago, you approved the report that was put together by the presidency recommending a monument for the Article 71 holders. I mean, the salary levels obviously generated some concern among Ghanaians, especially the backdating of the 10% increment for your salary. How do you respond? People think that you are simply taking too much.
No, at all. Maybe Ghanaians are justified by not being happy with us, especially when we are putting the level of our salary and also backdate our income. Looking at the economic situation in the country, I perfectly agree with those who are against it. But you should also look at what we go through as members of parliament. Those of our colleagues who are on retiring, who are no longer coming, who have to go back home with a package that they can read, they can start a life. If you look at the work of a parliamentarian, you notice that we spend all our livelihood. Whatever comes your way, even your salary, you spend it on your constituent. Right. Now, if you go back home now, nobody will employ you because they feel that you have reached a status in life where you are unemployable. And for those who do not have any profession, if you are not careful, you go back home and become pauper. So I believe...
We've heard, for example, can you tell us the sum, the amount of money that retiring MP is taking? For example, how much are they giving you?
I don't know. I have not seen the computation yet. I'm yet to find out how much because we've taken some facilities, our car loan. The car loan should be completely deducted with the interest, and I don't think it's anything to go home with.
All right. Honorable, I don't know whether you've located your new sitting.
Yes, I've moved forward a little bit. I'm now on the second seat after the front bench.
All right. Thank you very much. I want to say thank you very much. Honorable Bejra is Member of Parliament for Whole West, and Mr. Adongo is incoming Member of Parliament for Zebula. I want to say thank you. I wish you well in your first, time in Parliament. I hope that we'll see more of you. So, folks, we are just building up to what is to come very soon. A while ago, the Clerk of Parliament was ushered into the chamber, and then the expectation is that at 5 minutes into the new day, he will have a very unique role to play, and that is to preside over the election of the Speaker, and then for the Speaker to come in and for the nomination for the first and the second to follow. So he's going to have that unique role as a presiding officer until we have a new Speaker for the 7th Parliament. So that's what we are all waiting for. And that is going to happen 5 minutes into the new day, and we are looking at the time, we are counting down, and very soon we'll take you to the chamber to bring you footage of how it is looking like as new members and continuing members sit. Yes, so as you can see, we have the former President John Rawlings and the wife Nana Kwenda Rawlings seated, waiting patiently for proceedings to start. Members of Parliament, those who are coming in for the first time, some have taken their seats. But Member of Parliament for Obuasi West, Kwaku Kwatem, I don't know whether you've been there to locate where you'll be sitting.
Yes, I have.
Congratulations once again.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
How ready are you to function on the majority side?
Well, we are ready to do the work of the majority. We've been in the House for, at least speaking for myself, for 4 years. We know now how the House works. We understand the role of the majority. And Ghanaians have expressed great confidence in us as a political party. The optimism out there that we will deliver is high, and we're confident that we will deliver on the commitments we have made to the people of this country. And those
all list of promises you've made to Ghanaians.
We will, and we will be open and sincere with Ghanaians and the majority side, and I'm confident we will be supported by the minority side, would join us in that enterprise to deliver to the people of this country the reasons that motivated the kind of voting we have seen in this election.
All right, so after this is done with, and we have a new president in Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, Parliament will come back. I'm sure that one of the key things that we put in before the House, maybe for the House to consider the nominees for ministerial position. We've been told that you are heading to the finance minister as a deputy minister.
Well, I'll be happy to serve in that capacity if the president considers that is helpful. We're waiting. It's for the president to make those decisions. If I'm called upon to serve in any capacity, I'm happy to do that. In the end, the important thing is that collectively, as a party, the people of Ghana expect a lot from us, and I'm happy to play any role that would help us deliver that to the people of Ghana.
All right, so we know that Parliament approved the estimates for the first quarter of 2017. So how soon will our government put before the House a complete budget for covering the period 2017? And what kind of budget are we to expect?
Well, to start with, the estimate that Parliament gave approval for was up to March. So it means at the latest, in the course of March, we should bring the full budget for 2017. And so I think the public can expect the 2017 budget statement sometime in March. The budget would reflect the commitments we have made, and I'm confident it's a budget Ghanaians will be happy about.
You've always complained about the fact that previous budget, large amount of money was used to pay interest, and that money, was even bigger than 3 ministries put together. Is it going to be a continuation? Are we going to see a reform?
Now, the reason we have been compelled as a country to put so much money into interest payments is because of the way we have managed the economy and made it necessary for government to go borrowing in order that we can survive as a country. So in the long term, the strategy would be to look carefully at government expenditure, to cut out the waste, to prioritize the expenditures so that in the end, there will be less burden on government to go borrow and to incur all these interest payment obligations. Okay. And so, yes, it is big. We would take steps to reduce it, but it is not something that is going to happen immediately because the commitments for which we'll be making these interest payments have already been made. Okay. And so it is for us to make the changes that going forward will make it less necessary for government to go borrowing the way we have seen in the last 8 years, and to ensure that resources will be freed. Resources that otherwise would have gone into interest payments will be freed to deliver on the things Ghanaians want.
Yeah, we'll come to other issues going into 2017. But let me welcome on into our makeshift studio a new entrant who will be entering the 7th Parliament, soon to be called Honorable Samuel Atta Mills, brother of the late President John Mills, and he's coming in as the Member of Parliament elect for Komende Dinay Guafu Ebrim constituency in the Central Region. Congratulations, sir. And how ready are you for the big challenge ahead? Before you respond to some of the concerns raised by Honorable Kwadwo.
That is all that I'm here to do. Yes, sir.
You heard how he's hoping that they'll fix some of the defects in the issues they've raised in previous budgets. Are these things that you think are feasible?
I haven't been sworn in yet. So some of these comments, I just take them in and then try to digest them. I don't think this is the time for us to be pointing fingers at each other. What we need to do is to work together. If some of the things that they are proposing will be good for Ghana, so be it. What we need to do is to work together. So that is all that I can say for now.
All right.
Because the budgets that he's talking about, I haven't seen them, I haven't scrutinized them, and I think it would be fair for me to get them, look at them, and then I can comment further after that. Yeah.
So what's your expectations of the parliament that you are about to serve in?
Like I said, I'm hoping that we are going to work together to improve the lives of the good people of Ghana. If we don't work together, it's going to be difficult. So we need to work together. I have a feeling that we need to leave our party colors in our cars before we get here, so that when we come here, what is right and what is wrong is wrong. That is what we need to do.
So basically, your vote on issues will not be influenced by your party affiliation, but rather how that benefits the ordinary Ghanaian.
What I'm saying is, what we need to do is what will benefit the country. If it will not benefit the country, then we shouldn't do it. So that is definitely, that's what I'm trying to say. We need to think about the people and not necessarily think about so-called re-election. Yes.
Right, so coming from KEA
yes,
and about to take that oath and sit in the chair and start your work as a legislator, what did the people tell you to push to their benefits?
Development, youth employment, and roads. Those are three of the major ones that our people are looking for. And so we'll try and see the best that we can do to help in that area.
Okay. But Mr. Kwadwo, before the elections, you had this, billboard that talks about the fact that there could be, a revamping, possibly. I mean, that's the expectation of most people in your constituency about the mining industry in Obuasi. Now that you have power on your side, how willing are you to, get this done?
We are very willing, and I'm happy that it was not just a domestic issue. It was an issue that was captured in our manifesto, and that reflects a commitment at the national level towards the revival of the mining industry in Obuasi. We're committed to it and we'll make it happen. I'm aware that engagements have started already. We want these engagements to proceed as quickly as we can, because the people of Obuasi cannot wait. If you look at the way Obuasi's economy has become now, you are left in no doubt that we need the mines back. And so it is something we are going to apply ourselves to. But we are also looking at not just corporate mining that involves Anglo-Gold Ashanti. We are also looking for ways to make small-scale mining or artisanal mining work in an environmentally friendly and in a lawful way. These were commitments we made, and we are fully ready to deliver on them.
Right, Mr. Mills, how is the Commander Sugar Factory doing?
Commander Sugar Factory is ready to move forward. Most of the people over there are getting involved in having the farms going, and I think we need to get more of those things going so that we can have more of the supply for the sugar factory. The building is done, it's over there, we've had trials, and we know that it can produce sugar. Yes.
But generally, in terms of improving the economy of the central region,
yes,
any ideas that you may want to lobby ministers to push to get this done? Because in past surveys and research done by especially the Ghana Statistical Service, at some point in time the central region was rated as one of the poorest in the region. How do we deal with these particular issues going forward?
We need to organize most of the youth over there to get involved in cooperative farms. We also need some tractors to help with the mechanized farming out there. Most of the time, some of the farms that they have out there could be enlarged, and that is what we need to work on to help. We need to also talk to the chiefs for them to be able to release lands for them to grow most of the sugarcane and carting them to the sugar factory. I think that is the area that we need to work on.
Right. Mr. Watson, I'm just going to wrap up with you guys so that you can go into the chamber because events are about to start. But let me just find out from you. I mean, we are in a very difficult situation. I remember that last year, OPEC made it clear that they were going to cut down production. Now we've been told that they are cutting down as much as 1.7 barrels of oil a day. Already we've seen its reflection at the pumps. As we take over and petrol prices, one issue that is dear to Ghanaians. How are we doing some of these taxes and all these issues going forward?
Now we have to remember that as a country, we are net importers of petroleum. So if prices of crude and petroleum fall on the international market, we should be happy. The reason we were told that it is unfortunate for us when that happens is that on the export side, government comes to Parliament to review the budget, they cut expenditure. Now, on the import side, nobody tells us where the benefit is, because if we import and prices go down, businesses and consumers of petroleum should enjoy the relief. Now, one thing I think this government ought to be doing, and I'm confident the government will do that, is to look for the reasons why this is so. If we are net importers of petroleum and petroleum prices go down, we should see the benefits, and we'll be paying attention to the import side of our petroleum subsector and to ask the question, what is happening? I'm confident in the end we will be able to have a resolution that would benefit consumers of petroleum.
Will you, as has already been promised, review the energy sector levy and possibly take some out?
It is not for me to say. I mean, those taxes we would remove and those we would reduce. We have stated clearly in our manifesto. We're committed to those ones. Energy sector levies we would review, but we would review with a view to ensuring that in the end the taxes in there are optimum, and that whilst we reduce taxes in other areas to cushion Ghanaians and to provide opportunity for growth of the economy, that when it is also necessary, you mobilize the necessary taxation. Now, broadly, our strategy would be to collect taxes from more people to ensure that the burden on the few that have been paying taxes go down. That is generally our strategy. We want to shift from taxation to growth, and that is the way to achieve it.
Yeah, you wanted to come in here?
No.
Yeah. All right, so your final words before I let you go, sir.
My final word is for us to work together as a team. For this country to move forward, we need to work together. And we need to have in mind that we are here to do the business of the good people of Ghana.
Okay.
And if we have that in mind, we will be able to work together.
Thank you very much, and congratulations once again, incoming Member of Parliament for KEA, Mr. Samuel Atamils, and continuing MP, Mr. Kwaku Kwarteng, Member of Parliament for...
Well, my final word is that I totally agree with Honourable Mills on the points he has made. I think we should work together. The people of Ghana are very expectant, and as a house, if we work together and deliver, it is Ghanaians that benefit.
We are not going to see rubber stamping of issues without thorough scrutiny.
We will do the work as is required of Parliament and do it well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kwaku Kwarteng, and thank you very much, Mr. Atamils. So, viewers and listeners on Joy 99.7 FM, we are still counting down to the time, and very soon we'll take you to the Chamber of Parliament where the House is in session, but not officially in the sense that we're waiting for the clerk to come in, and according to the program outlook that we have, and there you have it on your on the screens, the Chamber of Parliament full, and for those who are watching, and you can see the Speaker's chair. Now on the right of the Speaker is the incoming MPP majority with 169 seats. Now the issue is that because the chamber is not so big enough, and you cannot have all the 169 members of Parliament on the incoming MPP side on one side, we have a spillover of some MPP members seated with the NDC incoming minority, who are on the left side of the Speaker of Parliament. And that's how it's going to be. I mean, we witnessed it in the year to be dissolved 6th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. And once it is time and the Clerk of Parliament walks into the chamber, he will call the meeting to order, and his main task, as a matter of fact, his main priority today will be for him to now supervise or preside over the election of a Speaker of Parliament. So the clerk will outline the procedure for the election of the Speaker. The clerk will then move on to invite nominations for the election of the Speaker. The election of the Speaker will be held. Members of Parliament will vote to confirm or reject the nominee for the Speakership of Parliament. The clerk, after receiving the results, will declare to the hearing of everybody here present. The Speaker-elect will submit himself to the will of the House. Now, Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, will proceed to the dais and administer the Speaker's oath. Now, the Speaker-elect will subscribe to the oath of allegiance and the Speaker's oath. The Clerk to Parliament, assisted by the clerks at table, will then move on to adorn the Right Honourable Speaker with the Speaker's robe and conduct him to the chair. The mace is now placed upright before the table, and that will signal a formal Parliament in session. Now, if the mace is tilted, what it means, and that's what is happening, carpet leading into the main chamber of Parliament. Now, what we are seeing, we are not really hearing what really is going on. It's some kind of a small meeting between Oko. They shook hands, meaning that they probably have reconciled their differences. The former president is now moving back to his original position from where Oko Van der Poel is sitting. And he's now walking, for those who are watching on Joy News, and if you are listening on Joy 99.7 FM, the ex-president is done with a small meeting with Oko Van der Poel. He's now moving back to his designated spot. Former First Lady Nana Konadu Agyeman-Rawlings, who contested the last elections on the ticket of the NDP, seated by former President Jerry Rawlings, and then some other dignitaries who are all waiting for the House to be in. So I was talking about the mace. When the mace is tilted, it signals the informal sitting of Parliament, and at that particular time, a member of Parliament can speak more than once. But if the mace is in an upright position, it tells you that the House is in sitting and is conducting serious business. So we are all waiting. Time is fast approaching. midnight, and then when that is done, we will then move into the business of the House, and then bring you everything that will unfold on the floor of Parliament. But we can do more, discussions as we await the event to start in the Chamber of Parliament. And Rashid Pelpo, the Member of Parliament, helped me while Central is also the outgoing Minister of State in charge of private-public partnership. And he won his seat. So for the next 4 years, even though the NDC is in opposition, he has a job as a Member of Parliament. Congratulations and welcome to join yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
much.
much.
And how does it feel moving from majority side to the left side of the Speaker of Parliament in the upcoming 7th Parliament?
Well, it's not comfortable at all. It tells you that something has happened and that you now have to fight again from behind, from a minority position, hoping that you will convince the people of Ghana to look kindly upon you and give you back the mandate.
You said you rolled out an infrastructure development unprecedented in the history of this country. I know your party has put up a 30-member committee to investigate the reason why you lost the election. But from your own little, analysis, what went wrong?
I think that there was a disjoint between what happened at the top and what happened down the layers. Where you find the grassroots, where you find the independent-minded people, floating voters, and all that. We could not connect easily with them. And so whilst they were thinking differently, we were doing something differently. Whilst we were doing things to benefit history, the future, to have a futuristic benefit for Ghana, they were thinking about present benefits. How do they immediately satisfy their daily demands? And we could not answer those questions. And that's why, I'm very sure many of them just didn't vote at all. No, it wasn't as if they voted against us. They stayed away from the voting. More than 1 million people who voted for John Dramani Mahama abstained from voting and didn't vote for us. So one impression I got was because of the disjoint. Another was the fact that I think that we did not present a true face of the NDC to the public. People got fed up with the everyday same faces on Joy News, same faces on Metro TV and other television networks. And they could not see those people as representing the kind of NDC they wanted.
Okay.
I got this from the platforms I belong. I got it from the phone-ins, radios and all that. So it was also a very important thing.
All right. Honorable, I wanted us to have a thorough discussion as we move into the 7th Parliament. And then also, North Dai, he uprooted, George Lowe, my very good friend, Jocelyn Tete. Welcome to Joy News. All right. So what we'll do is we'll now move into the chamber because the event is about to start. The most important thing, the reason why you are here, to be taken to the swearing-in ceremony so that you can be called honorable members of Parliament. I hope that when it is done, we'll come back and continue with the discussion. So, viewers and listeners, we will now take you into the Chamber of Parliament. The maze is now lying still. A signal the fact that we are here to have a presiding officer or a speaker to preside over the House. The Clerk of Parliament is just going to preside over the election of a speaker, and then after that the others will follow, the first deputy and the second deputy speaker of Parliament. So as you can see, the maze is laid down and then waiting for formalities to start. It's going to be at least an hour-long program. They have to follow every procedure to ensure that it complies with the standing orders and it complies with the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. So the House is now in sitting because we've gone into a new day, a new dawn, to avoid a situation where we have a power gap. What is going to happen is that the program is starting to bring everything to a closure, hopefully in the next hour or two. As you can see on your screens, the front bench of the NDC comprising incoming Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu, assisted by James Kluche Aveji, who is a member, who is the outgoing Finance Committee Chairman, also the Whip Mubarak, Muntaka Mubarak, Member of Parliament for Asawaze, and then the final person, the two other assistant whips, Ahmed Ibrahim, the Member of Parliament for Bandar in the Borno Ahafo region, and then Komfodoyo Ganza, who is the Member of Parliament for Adar here in the Greater Accra region. So they constitute the first line of defense for the minority side. On the other side, on the right side of the yet to be sworn in Speaker of Parliament is the majority table, and Osei Chairman Sabonsu, the Member of Parliament for Swami in the Ashanti region, in the Kente Clough, who lead his charges to prosecute government business on the floor of Parliament. And he will be assisted as Deputy Majority Leader by the Member of Parliament for Dom Kwabenya, Sarah Adwa Safo, and then the first woman to ever occupy the position of Deputy Majority Leader in the parliamentary history of the Republic of Ghana. And he will be assisted as Majority Whip, a very key position because the whip in Parliament, as a matter of fact, if you look at the composition of any parliament across the world, there are actually three, the most important persons in any parliament is the Speaker of Parliament, the Majority Leader, and the Majority Whip. The Whip has a unique role. His role is to ensure that business is carried through. He serves as a liaison between the executive and Parliament, and always will have to make sure that ministers of state who have business to transact on the floor are always on time to do that business. Also ensure that they have always adequate numbers to prosecute business on the floor. They always have the 1/3 number required to form a quorum to prosecute business on the floor. And if you look at the membership of the incoming MPP majority, 169, they have more than is required to form a quorum. Even if the NDC minority decides that they will not do business.
It follows the dissolution of the previous parliament, which was the 6th parliament of the